You've been lied to your whole life. People told you that you can't help how you feel, that your emotions are automatic, that you're supposed to react to everything around you. But here's the truth. You don't have to let anything affect you ever again. I know that sounds radical, maybe even impossible, but it's not. It's a secret that few people know and even fewer practice. Your inner peace isn't something you find. It's something you build. Right now, you might feel like you're constantly on edge, like life is one big emotional roller coaster that you didn't buy a ticket for. People push your buttons, situations drain your energy, and you're left wondering, why can't I just stay calm? The answer is simpler than you think, and it's not about meditation retreats, cutting people off, or pretending nothing bothers you. It's about mastering a set of skills that almost no one teaches. Imagine waking up tomorrow and knowing that nothing anyone says or does can shake your peace. That no matter how chaotic the world gets, you remain centered, calm, and in control. That's not a fantasy, it's a decision. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to make that decision, step by step. This isn't just information, it's a blueprint for emotional freedom. But before we dive in, I want you to really ask yourself, are you ready to stop living as a slave to your emotions? Are you ready to stop letting other people control how you feel? If your answer is yes, then lean in, because what I'm about to share with you will flip everything you thought you knew about emotional strength and inner peace. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. You've probably noticed how some people walk through life like human pinballs, bouncing off everything that happens to them. Someone cuts them off in traffic, boom, instant rage. A coworker makes a sarcastic comment, pow, they're fuming for days. If you're honest, you've probably had your own pinball moments too. That's what it means to live reactively, letting every little thing dictate how you feel, think, and act. It's exhausting, right? Now, contrast that with those rare souls who remain calm, steady, and grounded, no matter what's going on around them. You know the type, someone criticizes them and they just smile. Life throws curveballs their way, and they adapt without losing their peace. They're not cold or indifferent. They're simply imperturbable. They've mastered the art of not giving their emotional energy to things that don't deserve it. That's not apathy, it's strength. Being reactive feels like living in a constant state of defense. You're always waiting for the next hit, the next thing to upset you. It's as if your emotions are controlled by a remote, but you've handed that remote to everyone around you. Isn't that wild? Why would you let other people, situations, or even bad weather control how you feel? That realization alone can be life-changing. On the other hand, being imperturbable means you've taken back that remote. You're no longer a puppet pulled by the strings of circumstance. Instead, you decide how you'll respond or whether you'll respond at all. Imagine how much lighter your days would feel if you stopped reacting to every minor annoyance. It's like upgrading your emotional software to something much more powerful and efficient. Let me give you a practical example. Imagine you're standing in line and someone cuts in front of you. The reactive person immediately snaps, "Hey, what's your problem?" The imperturbable person, however, takes a breath, maybe even chuckles at the absurdity, and lets it go. Not because they're weak, but because they know their peace is worth more than a petty argument. That choice right there is everything. So, the real question is, how do you shift from being reactive to becoming imperturbable? How do you stop being that human pinball, bouncing around in frustration, and start moving through life with calm authority? The answer lies deeper than you might think. It all begins with understanding where your emotions truly come from. Here's something most people never realize. Your emotions don't come from what happens to you. They come from how you interpret what happens. That might sound simple, but wow, it's powerful. You're not angry because someone insulted you. You're angry because you interpreted that insult as a threat, an attack on your identity. See how that works? The event is neutral. It's your meaning that gives it emotional weight. Think about this. Someone honks at you in traffic. One person gets furious, thinking, "How dare they?" Another just laughs and waves, thinking, Maybe they're having a bad day. Same event, totally different emotional experiences. That's the secret. You get to decide how you feel by choosing what story you tell yourself about what's happening. Your emotions are created in your mind first, not in the world. You've probably heard people say, "He made me so mad," or "She hurt my feelings." But no one can actually make you feel anything without your permission. I know that sounds harsh at first, but it's also freeing, isn't it? Because if your emotions are your responsibility, then you're not a victim to them. You can take charge, you can reframe, and you can choose a response that empowers you instead of draining you. One of my favorite tools for this is what I call the pause and question. When you feel a strong emotion bubbling up, pause and ask yourself, what story am I telling about this? Is it a story of rejection, of disrespect, of failure? Often you'll realize it's just a narrative you've practiced for years. And the beautiful thing? You can rewrite that narrative anytime you want. That's where your real power lives. Let me give you an example you can use today. Next time someone criticizes you, instead of thinking, "They hate me" or "I'm not good enough," try thinking, "They might be projecting their own insecurities," or "Maybe they're just having a rough day." Do you feel the difference? One story crushes you, the other sets you free. That's the power of interpretation. It's emotional alchemy, turning pain into wisdom. And once you grasp that your interpretations create your emotions, you naturally start asking a deeper question. If I can choose how I feel, then what's stopping me from choosing peace, joy, or even indifference in the face of adversity? That curiosity leads you straight into the next layer of mastery, the incredible power of interpretation itself. Once you realize that your emotions are driven by your interpretations, you begin to understand just how much power you actually have over your own life. It's almost scary at first, isn't it? To realize that most of your suffering doesn't come from what happened, but from the meaning you assign to it. That's a tough pill to swallow, but also the most liberating truth you'll ever embrace. You're not at the mercy of the world. You're at the mercy of your own mind. Let me put it this way, life is neutral. It's not against you, and it's not out to get you. Things happen, that's inevitable. But whether those things destroy you or strengthen you depends entirely on how you interpret them. A breakup, for example, can be seen as proof that you're unlovable, or as an opportunity to grow, learn, and ultimately meet someone better aligned with your values. Same event, different interpretations, completely different life outcomes. That's why I always say the world doesn't happen to you. It happens for you, or more precisely, it happens and you decide what it means. You've got to stop waiting for the world to make you happy and start making happiness your responsibility. That's not just some feel-good advice. It's a survival skill in today's world, where negativity and victimhood are almost default modes. But you don't have to play that game. Here's a practical exercise you can try. Next time something frustrates you, like a delayed flight or a canceled plan, pause and reinterpret it. Maybe that delay kept you safe from something you'll never even know about. Maybe that cancellation opened space for something better to show up. When you shift your interpretation, you shift your emotional state. And with that, you shift your entire experience of life. It's funny how people often think the goal is to control life itself. Good luck with that. The real mastery is controlling how you perceive life. And when you master perception, suffering diminishes, joy expands, and resilience becomes second nature. Imagine waking up each day knowing that nothing can truly shake you unless you let it. That's not fantasy. That's the power of interpretation at work. And once you start practicing this skill, you'll naturally begin to wonder, if interpretation holds so much power over my emotional state, how can I train myself to stop reacting to everything automatically? That question is the doorway to the next level of inner mastery, learning how to stop reacting to every single thing that happens around you. The first thing you've got to understand is this: not everything deserves your emotional energy. I know, it feels like every rude comment, every inconvenience, every unexpected twist is worthy of a reaction. But ask yourself, what's the return on that investment? Usually it's frustration, stress, and regret. You end up drained over things that, in the grand scheme of life, barely even matter. Your energy is precious. Stop giving it away for free. Here's a little mantra I want you to try. Not everything requires my response. Simple, right? But oh, how effective. When you pause and ask, does this deserve my energy? You immediately create space between stimulus and response. That space is where your power lives. It allows you to decide consciously instead of reacting impulsively. It's like moving from being an emotional slave to becoming an emotional strategist. I've learned that emotional detachment is not about becoming cold or distant. It's about choosing what truly deserves your focus. Some people might misunderstand this and say, but isn't that being indifferent? Not at all. It's being discerning. Imagine your emotions as currency. You wouldn't spend your hard-earned money on junk. So why spend your emotional energy on things that bring no value to your life? Choose your battles wisely. For instance, when someone sends you a passive-aggressive text, your instinct might be to fire back with something equally sharp. But what if, instead, you took a deep breath, smiled, and left it unanswered? That silence sends a stronger message than any clever comeback ever could. Plus, it keeps your peace intact. Not reacting doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're in control. Letting go of the need to react is a sign of profound inner strength. It means you've recognized that your peace is more valuable than proving a point. It also means you trust yourself enough to know that not every fight is worth fighting. This shift doesn't happen overnight, of course. But every time you choose not to react, you reinforce the habit of emotional sovereignty. And once you start experiencing the power of not reacting, you'll naturally be curious. Okay, but how do I make this a consistent practice? How do I train myself to be immune to all the drama and chaos around me? That's where specific techniques come in. Practical tools you can use to build emotional immunity and elevate your inner game even further. Building emotional immunity is like strengthening a muscle. You can't just wish for it, you've got to train it. The first technique is simple but profound. Observe, don't absorb. Picture yourself wearing an invisible raincoat. Negativity can fall all around you, but it never soaks through. People might gossip, criticize, or lash out, but you stay dry. You see their emotions, you understand them, but you don't make them yours. The second tool is mastering the pause. This is your superpower. Before you react, take a breath, count to 3, and ask yourself, is this really worth it? That tiny pause creates a gap between impulse and action. And in that gap, you regain control. It might sound basic, but this simple pause can prevent countless arguments, regrets, and sleepless nights. It's emotional Aikido, using calm to neutralize chaos. Another key technique is to stop fueling the drama. You know how some situations only get worse because people keep adding firewood to the flames? Don't be that person. If someone tries to pull you into gossip or conflict, let it die right there. Without your participation, the drama starves. And the beauty is, the more you practice this, the more people start respecting your boundaries. They'll realize you're not easily baited. Here's something practical you can do today. The next time a friend starts venting about someone else, instead of jumping in with your opinion, just listen silently. Or if you're feeling bold, say something neutral like, I hope things work out. Watch how the conversation shifts or ends entirely. That's you choosing to disarm the situation, protecting your peace without making a scene. Emotional immunity isn't about avoiding life's challenges. It's about engaging with them from a place of strength rather than fragility. It's knowing that you can witness chaos without becoming chaotic yourself. Think of it as emotional insulation. You feel what's happening, but you don't let it penetrate your core. And that gives you the freedom to focus your energy on what truly matters. Naturally, once you start mastering these techniques, the next question arises. How do I go beyond just managing reactions and actually reprogram the way I feel and think altogether? That's the deeper work. Transforming your entire emotional system through deliberate mental training and pattern interruption. Reprogramming your emotions is a bit like rewiring your brain. It doesn't happen by accident. It happens by practice. You've got to treat your mind like a muscle that needs regular training. Every time you resist the urge to react the way you usually do, you're building new neural pathways. Over time, those new responses become your default. It's not magic. It's neuroscience. Consistency here is far more important than intensity. One of the most effective ways to reprogram is to interrupt your usual patterns. If you normally respond to criticism with defensiveness, try responding with curiosity instead. Ask, "Why did that bother me?" Or "What can I learn from this?" Sounds simple, but this deliberate shift creates a new groove in your mind. Eventually, reacting with calm instead of anger becomes second nature, just like riding a bike after enough practice. Another essential part of emotional reprogramming is managing your inner dialogue. The stories you tell yourself shape your emotional reality. So, ask yourself regularly, what narrative am I running right now? If it's one of victimhood, blame, or fear, challenge it. Replace it with a narrative that empowers you, like, "I can handle this," or "This is an opportunity to grow." That shift in internal language transforms how you feel and how you act. Let me share a practical technique. Start journaling moments when you feel triggered. Write down what happened, how you reacted, and how you'd prefer to respond next time. This creates awareness and intention, which are key ingredients for reprogramming. Over weeks, you'll notice patterns, and more importantly, you'll start breaking them. Awareness is the first domino that topples the old emotional habits. Here's something most people miss. Reprogramming isn't about eliminating emotions. It's about mastering them. You'll still feel anger, sadness, or fear, but you'll handle them with wisdom instead of letting them hijack you. It's like upgrading from an old, glitchy operating system to something faster, smoother, more reliable. And the best part? You're the programmer. You decide the code. Naturally, as you strengthen this new programming, you might begin to wonder, what happens when I stop reacting the way people expect me to? What changes in my relationships and in the way people treat me? That's where things get really interesting, the power of emotional disarmament, which not only protects your peace but also transforms how others interact with you. Here's something that will change your life. When you stop reacting the way people expect, you immediately take their power away. Most people are used to pushing buttons and getting predictable responses. Anger, defensiveness, insecurity. But when you stay calm, smile, or even just remain silent, they're left disarmed, unsure of what to do next. That unexpected calmness is a form of quiet dominance. You own the moment. Think about it. People can only manipulate you when they know how you'll react. If every time someone criticizes you, you lash out, they'll keep using that against you. But if you respond unpredictably, maybe with humor, maybe with indifference, they lose their leverage. Suddenly, you're the one in control, not them. It's like being the chess player instead of the pawn. Cool, right? This doesn't mean you suppress how you feel. Quite the opposite, you feel it all, but you choose how and when to express it. Emotional disarmament is about strategic response, not emotional numbness. It's about knowing that not every provocation needs an immediate answer. Sometimes the most powerful statement is no statement at all. Silence can be louder than any shout. A practical tip: next time someone tries to bait you into an argument, pause, smile if you can, or just breathe deeply and say, "Let me think about that." Watch how the dynamic shifts instantly. You'll notice that people respect those who don't react impulsively. They're seen as grounded, confident, and, frankly, difficult to mess with. That's the kind of presence you want to cultivate. Over time, you'll realize that emotional disarmament doesn't just make you more peaceful. It makes you more respected. People stop seeing you as someone they can push around. Instead, you become known as someone who's calm under pressure, who doesn't play into games, and who holds their ground with quiet strength. That's influence at its highest form. And when you start living this way, it naturally leads to the ultimate realization. If I can choose how I respond, Can I also choose how I live on my own terms, free from the expectations and manipulations of others? That's the final frontier, the freedom to live in alignment with your truth, without being controlled by external forces. This is where it all comes together, the ultimate freedom. Living life on your own terms. Not as a reaction to others, not as a performance for approval, but as an authentic expression of who you are. That's the goal. Not to suppress your emotions, but to own them fully and decide how they shape your life. You get to choose what influences you and what doesn't. Imagine how liberating that is. Living imperturbably doesn't mean you become a robot, devoid of feelings. Quite the opposite, you feel deeply, but you're no longer enslaved by those feelings. You can experience frustration without becoming bitter, sadness without becoming hopeless, and anger without losing your cool. That's emotional maturity at its finest. You respond with intention instead of reacting out of habit. The beauty of this freedom is that it allows you to create a life aligned with your values, not shaped by fear or the need for validation. You stop asking, "What will they think?" and start asking, "What do I want?" That shift changes everything. From the career you pursue, to the relationships you invest in, to how you spend your mornings. You start designing your life, not defaulting to it. Here's a practical suggestion. Take some quiet time this week and journal about what living on your own terms really looks like. Ask yourself, what beliefs am I holding on to that aren't even mine? Or where am I letting fear dictate my choices? You might be surprised at what comes up. That awareness is your starting point for true freedom. Once you taste this kind of sovereignty, you'll find that external chaos no longer rattles you the way it used to. You become centered, anchored in your truth. And people will notice. They'll feel that steadiness in you, and it will inspire them, even if they can't quite put their finger on what's changed. That's the silent, magnetic power of living authentically. And here's the most beautiful part. This journey never really ends. You'll keep refining your boundaries, deepening your self-awareness, and mastering your emotional responses. But now you know the secret. Let nothing affect you unless you choose to let it in. And that, my friend, is the path to inner peace. So, now that you know the secret, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to keep letting the world push you around, reacting to every little thing? Or are you finally ready to take control of your emotions in your life? Imagine how different tomorrow could be if you just applied one of these principles. What would happen if you chose peace instead of anger? If you paused instead of reacting? Let me ask you, what's stopping you from becoming that person right now? The one who walks into any room calm, confident, unshakable. No more wasting your energy on things that don't matter. No more letting other people dictate how you feel. Isn't that the kind of freedom you've been searching for all along? It's yours, you just have to claim it. If this message hit home for you, do me a favor. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Trust me, this is just the beginning. We've got so much more to explore together on this journey to emotional mastery and inner peace. You don't want to miss any of it. And hey, if you found this helpful, share it with someone who needs to hear it too. Who knows, you might just change their life as well. Now, go ahead and watch the next video. It'll take you even deeper into mastering your emotions and living life fully on your terms.